Our next guest is Casey Costello, the Honourable Casey Costello. Honourable, yes, you get that for life. I can't imagine you use it for much if you... Anyhow, doesn't matter. First entered Parliament 2023 last year, and she was elevated immediately to the Minister of Customs, Minister for Seniors, the Associate Minister of Health, the Associate Minister of Immigration, the Associate Minister of Police. Gosh, that's a lot of associates. A lot of work, one presumes. She has been very much the bête noire of the anti-smoking lobby in her last, 10 months since she would have got those particular titles. And she says, well, if it was working, it would be working better. I've got a better solution. And she joins us now. Casey, lovely to talk to you again. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Michael. How are you?
I'm well. Listen, I was saying, though, that as a former Detective Sergeant, Vice President of the Police Association, spokesperson for Hobson's Pledge, you'd be well used, I imagine, to the haters of the world, yeah?
Yeah, very much so. But as I find as I get around the country, when you actually get to talk face-to-face to people and you talk logic and reason with them, it's, we find a lot of common ground, a lot more than the media would like us to find.
You don't appear to be getting a lot of sympathetic coverage from Radio New Zealand and TVNZ in particular. They seem to believe everything that you are some sort of smoking demon. Does that affect the way in which you do your job, Casey?
And no, not at all. And the thing is that I have a purpose. We have a common goal across the opposition and us, which is to achieve our smoke-free targets. We disagreed with the way to achieve it. And what I'm doing is just getting on with the work to achieve it. And that's my goal, is that we know we want to deliver, and we need some clear, logical conversations about what we're trying to achieve here, which is smoke-free.
Well, but having said that, you've been obviously characterised as a stooge for the tobacco lobby. That must annoy you, surely.
It's unhelpful because, there's great work being done, and everything I've said right from the outset was that we were not the pathway we were going down for. It wasn't going to succeed. It was a distraction from the good work that was being done. And as we've established now, as we work through the statistics, which is what I do, is we would have achieved the smoke-free target without doing anything additional. We would have achieved it. So, we're on track. The targets are all there. We will be less than 5% by the end of next year. We could actually even achieve it this year, but, the stats won't come out until next year. But the point with it is that we were going to drive resources across the board, not resources specifically where they needed to be, which is our most addicted smokers and how we get interventions to them, and that was what my focus has been on. So it's been frustrating that all of this noise got in the way, and the most frustrating thing is the amazing people that are delivering this work program have achieved great success, and we lost that in all this noise that was going on. We're at 6.8%. That was a great achievement. We had of the 229,000 people that quit smoking in the last 3 years, a third were Māori. Great successes, and in all this noise, we stopped looking at what we were doing and what was getting done and what was working well, and got distracted by noise and an opposition that was just unhappy that we weren't going down the path of their sound bites.
Okay, one of the things that strikes me immediately, if you've got smoking down, I think, as a national average to just under 7%, is that 7% would going to be the hardest nut to crack, right? If they're still smoking now, then I'll tell you what, nothing's affecting them. I mean, the price of cigarettes being what they are, the health warnings that are out there, the public campaigns that we've run over the last 30, 40 years, I mean, you're really out there. So given that, is it realistic to expect that they'll stop smoking at all?
And this is the part this is what the work is. So I'm going around the country this week meeting with the quit smoking providers and working out how do we get those hardcore addicted smokers that have been smoking for decades to quit. What is the things that work to get them to quit? And that's why I've been, if there's other products, if there's medications, if there's other programs, they know smoking's bad for them. We don't need to keep telling people smoking's bad. They know that.
Yeah.
What are the other things we can do to target those that most need it? And that's why I was opposed to something that said the whole country is going to be doing something, because that still wasn't going to, target those who most need it. And that's what I'm trying to focus on, is what, between that sort of 35 to 65 age group, the hardcore addicted smokers, what do they need to help quit? What is the programs that work? And that's one meeting with the quit smoking providers this week to find out where do they get success? How do they get these people over the line?
Now, that 7%, I'm presuming, would be a lower statistic overall, would it, Casey, if Maori didn't smoke? What I'm trying to say is the average is boosted by the proportion of Maori that smoke, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's exactly right. So we've got, although it's dropped significantly, so we're saying in the last sort of 10 years, we've gone from 37.9% Māori down to 17.1%, still significantly higher than the overall average. So that's why I'm saying what we need to deliver is targeted programs to get those that need it to quit. And that's what you're saying, that average, we would be well below the 5% if we could shift those Māori-Pacific smokers down, and that's why this program of work needs to be targeted, not general.
Now, the other thing I'm looking at is the OECD stats. Now, I've got OECD stats, I guess you've seen them as well, for 2021. So it compares all of the countries in the OECD. And we're sort of right down there with everybody else, really. Iceland, Costa Rica, Norway, Mexico, Canada, United States, New Zealand, Sweden, about the same. And then you take big jumps up to countries like Denmark, Germany, Korea, Ireland, Luxembourg, really rich countries, Italy, France. Given the fact we're doing actually quite well, I mean, those countries in many cases are twice, sometimes in France's case, over 3 times our rate of smokers. Aren't we doing quite well, really?
And that's what got lost in all this noise. We're doing really well. The 2023 stats has the UK at 12.9, Australia at 10.5, and we're at 6.8. One of the only countries lower than us is Sweden, which is at 5.8. That was the part that got lost when when the media went crazy and went off on distracting about me and big tobacco. We're on track, and we've got some really good opportunity here to deliver, and that's why I've been talking about our other products. Is that going to be what, the lower harm products? Is that what's going to be helping? And making sure we have a proper regulatory regime in place, not a knee-jerk reaction, but a proper regulatory regime with enforcement capability so that we can stop the next generation from smoking. And when we talked about the smoke-free generation, which was all this big catchphrase stuff that was happening, we already have that. We have less than 1% of under 24s smoking. So we know we've broken the back. Young people aren't taking up cigarettes. Yes, they're taking up vaping, whole nother subject. But in terms of smoking, we've achieved that smoke-free generation. So, that was all just a whole lot of catchphrase stuff that was going on and distracting us from the hardcore business, which is getting the addicted smokers to stop and recognising we've done really, really well. And what's worked to get us to that really, really good point, and how do we make it so we get that last push to get everybody else that's addicted off smoking?
Yeah, I guess the other thing that's interesting to me, though, is that I couldn't afford, if I was an ordinary family, to smoke. I mean, it's the cost factor is just huge. I mean, it may as well be banned, for God's sake, given the cost of cigarettes at the moment. And yet New Zealanders are turning to other drugs, alcohol, cannabis is huge, obviously. Meth, well, that's a sort of extreme out there, but just let's stick to the ones that are more common. And vaping. So is it just simply that New Zealanders are transferring their addiction from smoking to other forms of, shall we say, mind-altering substances?
Yeah, and that was, so, because I have the customs portfolio, I'm pretty much over the top of the wastewater testing and things like that, which has been pretty static. We see little spikes every now and then, but we know from the wastewater testing we're still pretty flatlined in terms of the amount. It's still too high. But one of the things when we talk about those hardcore addicted smokers is there's this stubborn resilience to, you can keep putting it up, you're not going to stop me. But the saddest part is that I talk to people who are literally going without food to buy cigarettes. They're going without fuel. They're going without a whole lot because they are truly addicted.